Coach, you can start us off with a review of last night's game.
Yeah, good SEC win. Really thought was showcased by the defense, not just stopping like I mentioned last night. It's one thing to stop people, or like an Arkansas game a few years ago, they drive the length of the field and score and you stop a 2-point play. But our defense made a number of stops with turnovers to help win us the game. And then fourth quarter, you obviously like being a fourth quarter team, and that's 2 games in a row we've been down in the fourth quarter and statistically dominated the fourth quarter. I think they were -3 yards rushing, and we were over 100 rushing in the fourth quarter. So that was great to see. And then, to get the ball back, and even though we just needed 1 first down in it, to make the first down and make sure we didn't give the ball back to them, which has not always been the case in our 4-minute offense over the years we've been here.
Questions?
Coach, with transfer portal and graduation portal and everything, I lose touch on. Does Spencer Sanders have another collegiate year if he chose to go to college next year?
By my understanding, he does not.
Okay, thank you.
Lane, you touched on the fourth quarter success. To what extent do you think that's a function of your team's depth? Do you feel that having an impact at that time of the game?
I could see that on defense. We played more guys and played a number of guys up front on defense. So I could see that, on defense. We don't rotate a whole lot on offense, but, I could see that on defense.
Lane, was Arkansas doing something schematically to take your tight end out of the passing game? Were we having to keep him in protection, or what was the plan there?
No, I think those things just happen. I mean, one time he's open, but the read just doesn't happen to take him there. So I just think it was one of those games, and the quarterback, didn't play his best game. And we've been fortunate for him to be extremely accurate and play really well all year long. And sometimes you take that for granted when you see some other people miss passes and stuff, how well he's played. So I think that part of that was due to his injury during the game. So, and we didn't help him out, with he completed a long ball and was called back for holding, or we drop an in route on third down. So we didn't help him either.
Lane, how is Jackson looking today, and do you see that injury being something that puts his availability into question in 2 weeks here?
I do not. He'll be fine.
What do you attribute the turnaround on the defense, Lane?
Not playing LSU's quarterback and receivers.
Okay.
That seems to be not a very good recipe for defenses around the SEC this year. So I thought we did it better. Seriously, I thought we did a better job containing the quarterback, stopping the run, making him one-dimensional. Whatever. I think on called running plays, he made 10 yards or something. So that'll change the game a lot.
Lane, going back to the previous question about Jackson Dart's prognosis, does the same kind of go for Tre Harris as well, just with him going out of the game when he did?
Yeah, I think this is really good timing for a bye with Tre. So I would anticipate by the time we play, he'd be fine.
Lane, you kind of mentioned it last night just now. In a coach's eyes, is it different for each coach, but is there a sweet spot or a good time for a bye to fall in the schedule for an SEC team?
It all depends. There's so many variables you don't know. How was your schedule early? Obviously injuries. So I think, we're halfway through the season. We're 5-1. We lost a game in Alabama that I've been very critical of our performance in that game, and I think people were very critical of us in that game. But, I try to remind myself as much as, wanted and expected to win that game. That's his hardest place to play over the last, 6 years or something like that. Have they lost one SEC home game to arguably the greatest team in the history of college football, Joe Burrow and company? So that's a pretty hard place to play in this conference. So I think that's a good reminder to be 5-1 and to have been ahead at halftime and lose that game. Obviously, we're not pleased with it, but kind of a refreshing reminder when we took so much heat for losing that game in Tuscaloosa, which kind of almost everybody in this conference has done.
Lane, you were 7-1 last year, 5-1 this year. Is there something you learned from last year that you can pass on to the guys to, keep them on this road?
Yeah, I think this team's different. I know coaches, say that, but I do. I think in Tulane that showed up. I mean, it's really showed up. I think about 3 games we've been behind. Late in the game. So that's very different than I would think that last year's team where we were ahead most of those. And so I think this team's different. But, that team I think was coming off the Sugar Bowl year and a lot of marquee portal names that I always said if it doesn't go good, that's a hard situation to be, kind of like big name free agency in the NBA. Either goes really well or then towards the end of the year it doesn't. So I think we're different.
Lane, what needs to happen over this bye week, the next couple weeks, to put you in the best spot possible going into the back half of the season?
I think somehow, just start to play complete games instead of one side or the other. Secure some special teams things up, and just continue to develop. Again, because of the portal, you've got a lot of significant players that now their name, but, we're not here last season. So my hope is that as they continue to play more together, as we saw the defense yesterday, they started to play better together.
Anything else for Coach?
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good week.